right, it is our absolute pleasure to welcome in three-time Pro Bowler, three-time All-Pro. I'm looking at the resume here on the phone, making sure I get it right. 2006 NFL sacks leader, Defensive Rookie of the Year, across the board, one of the greatest players in San Diego Chargers history, and probably Buffalo Bills history as well. The one and only Shawne "Lights Out" Merriman. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I must say, just before Ryan decided not to put on his Chargers jersey, but it's sitting right next to his computer. Look, he brought light blue, and I said, "You gotta fucking wear that, dude."
Oh man, that's awesome! Look at that. That's
there we
crazy.
go. There. Now I feel better.
Now the interview's official.
There it
exactly.
is.
I'm not gonna sit here and stare at that jersey. You better be putting it on or don't bring it. That's what I say.
Best jersey in sports, the powder blue.
Hell
man.
yeah.
So good, so good. All right, Shawne, let's start things out talking about what just happened this past weekend in the National Football League. I mean, one game was a nail-biter that nobody really predicted. They loved the Patriots, but the other game, I mean, the Vikings didn't even show up. What was the biggest surprise to you? What stood out to you?
You know, as far as the Vikings game, I saw it coming. I didn't think the deficit would be that big. This is the difference between two teams. Philly, they don't need Nick Foles to go out. They didn't need Nick Foles to go out and put up 300-plus yards throwing the ball or 3 touchdowns. They didn't need him to do that. They just need him to manage the game, throw short passes, get the ball down the field, get off the field in long situations. On the other side of it, they needed Case Keenum to do everything, and that's what the problem was. And with that Philly defense, he just was not going to have an opportunity. So I knew the game. I knew that Philly was going to win the game. I didn't think they were going to blow them out the way they did. It seemed to me when I was watching it, though, that the Vikings were still coming down from that big play of last week, and that was it. That was their shining moment. That was all the energy they had. They weren't supposed to win the game against the Saints, and they just were shocked by the time they got to the game with Philly.
No, and we talked about that last week. We talked about the hangover. Obviously they're running through the stadium rushed and you're thinking like they won the Super Bowl, not knowing they still had 2 games to win. We talk about that a lot, and even that same thing happens in soccer when we go through these types of things. But setting up now, you talk about these 2 teams. One of them doesn't have home field advantage anymore. Both coming into on a high. The Goats coming into town to Minneapolis with a team that seems very high in confidence now in Philly. What's your prediction now for Super Bowl Sunday?
I always say in the beginning of the year, in the off season, in game 1, somebody will ask me, who do I think is going to win the Super Bowl this year? And every year for the past however many years, I've always said the Patriots have an opportunity of going. So every single year, because they have Tom Brady and they got Bill Belichick, it doesn't matter who they have at wide receiver. It doesn't matter who they have at running back. It doesn't matter how well their defense is playing. They always have an opportunity because they just find ways to win. They're more experienced. They know in these situations. So I don't want to pick them because they put me out of the playoff more than a couple times. I'm not a Patriots fan, but you have to be a fan of their work. You got to be a fan of what they've been able to accomplish, as a team. So I'm going to stick with them, and I think they're going to take it all again.
Now, question for you. I mean, and you can answer this better than anybody. The strength of a good offensive and defensive coordinator can be a game changer. It looks like New England is going to lose their coordinators, McDaniels and Patricia. Is this the last game, you think, of the New England dynasty? I mean, they still got Brady. They'll still probably have Belichick. But, without those guys, is this the last big stand for these guys, you think?
No. I mean, as long as Brady and Bill Belichick is there, they have an opportunity to win. For one, they have a system going over there unlike anyone in the National Football League where they don't need top-tier talent. They get very light players. If you see some of the players that come in and out of the organization, they're very similar. You have Wes Welker to leave. You have a Brandon Cooks to come in. You have a guy like LeGarrette Blount who goes down. Now you have a James White and the other running back also to come in there and should be able to shed a rock. So they have a great system going where they'll be fine. They'll be fine for a long time. The only time they won't be fine is when that dynasty with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady break up, then I think they have some restructuring to do that.
Sticking with the Patriots, and you just touched on it. I was going to ask you this a little later, but when the Patriots beat you guys in the playoffs, they did a lights out dance at center field, and then a few weeks ago, Marquette King with the lights out dance there as well. What goes through your mind there? It's got to be a little infuriating, I would think.
Look at his face.
Yeah, it's a little pissed off.
I mean, you know what? I used to be. I was pissed back when they did it. The Patriots did it because it was too soon, and it also it was very distasteful because you already won the game. You know, the game is over, and the manner they did it wasn't like one or two guys. It was like almost the entire team. It's like, really, do I really get under you guys' skin that much that the entire team is marking the dance? But then now being kind of away from the game, it's more, I guess, you start to feel honored a little bit because I'm away from the game. There's been several pass rushers and several exciting defensive players in the history of the game that's played, which is people still doing my sack dance. And whether it's to mock me or they doing it out of respect, you gotta gotta be okay with it at this point.
No, we just talked about kind of getting out of the game, and obviously you're a guy that's been out of the game, but doing such amazing things now in your new life. Can you talk a little bit more about what you're up to now, especially what you've created now with Lights Out brand?
Yeah, well, those of you who don't know, my nickname was Lights Out, just for anybody who's watching. Some people may not know, but I had that name since I was in high school. And what I did when I was playing back in 2007, I felt that Lights Out was much bigger than like one person. You know, I felt that Lights Out was a meaning. I felt that Lights Out was a brand of its own, and I was kind of the one just driving the ship, right? And so I started to do clothes when I was playing. I didn't know much about the apparel industry. I was just doing T-shirts, hats, and I was selling them at the football games. You know, people got them on the way in. We ended up going to stores around 2009, 2010. And then when I retired after the end of the 2012 season, this was my full-time job. This took the place of me waking up every morning at 6 to 6:30 and hitting the gym and going to watch film and practice and rehab and all the things that go on the daily grind of being an athlete. This is what I turned my attention to. So the same type of mentality that I took and approach in my everyday life of playing football, my mentality of going to a game, I now took that into the business world, and not just of fashion, but also having it across various sports. You know, we have a few MMA fighters now. We have a league we're partnered up with called Bellator. Their fights on the Paramount Network. We have a NASCAR team with the K&N West Series, Jesse Awuji, my driver. So we've been able to kind of expand across multi-platforms and now in stores across the country.
Nice, man. That's awesome, buddy. And while we're on the topic, where can people find this online?
Yeah, you can check it out on lightsoutbrand.com, and then also they're in most Chili's here in the country, and we got some stores on the East Coast. But we have some really, really big announcements coming up with the low-impact training shoes that they'll be ready for next school year.
Sweet, love it. Now, I want to talk about something that I just want to see how it affected you, because I mean, we saw a lot of Phillip Rivers, we saw a lot of LaDainian Tomlinson and stuff. You're one of the greats in Charger history. When it came to San Diego, moving to Los Angeles, I mean, how did it hit you watching the Chargers essentially play nothing but road games this year with a stadium full of other fans?
Well, it was. I felt like the fans. It kind of caught me by surprise. Not the fact that they moved, because I think that was inevitable that they were going to move at some point. I would actually remember the day I was driving, just leaving San Diego in the morning. I had some things to do there. And in the morning, I got up and I was driving back, and I got all these text messages and alerts on my phone that they officially made the move. I'm just leaving San Diego, so I couldn't even believe that it was happening. I was kind of, feeling very like the fans. Man, I wanted the team to stay in San Diego. That's where I was in the community there. That's where friends and some family end up moving to San Diego at some point. So I felt like the life that I built and I was 20 years old when I got drafted there. So you really became a young adult there. But selfishly, because I'm here in LA and I have TV and things like that, I do get a chance to go to the games a lot more. I do get a chance to go and be around the organization. So selfishly, it's really cool for the team to be here. But I initially felt the same way the fans did.
Fair enough. And I apologize. I need to ask this. I have to ask this because it's always a topic of conversation on this show, given my my Charger blood. I need to ask you about Phillip Rivers. And he could be a friend and stuff. So I'm, take no offense. He's just a fan talking.
I'm waiting for this all NFL season.
As much as I love the team, and I think they're heading in a great direction, I feel like, they need to draft a QB. They need to start moving forward because I don't see Rivers as the guy that gets them to the promised land. I feel like he's a bit past his prime here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, you saw the Giants this year. Even though the Giants had a much worse season, they took a step away from Eli Manning, which was pretty crazy. These guys were drafted the same year. What are your thoughts on that? Is Rivers still the future of this team, or are things changing?
Well, you're never going to be Father Time, and Jay can tell you first and foremost. I don't care how great of an athlete you are, you're going to decline. Your body will slow down. It will tell you that maybe it's time to move on. And we see some of the great things going on with Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's been playing out of his mind for his age. But he's not going to play till he's 45 or 46 or 47. That's just not going to happen. And if he do, it's not going to look like the Tom Brady we know. So the same goes with Phillip. I think that Phillip has some amazing, another a couple years left to go out and really perform well. You could say he is not the quarterback to go and take these guys to the promised land, but they won 9 out of their last 12 games. If they didn't start 0-4, maybe they get one of those 4 games. They're a playoff team. And to get to the playoffs, you just want a fighting chance. Any team that's in the playoffs, look at Jacksonville. You get your foot in the door, and you have a possibility of winning the Super Bowl. So the question or the answer is this: is Phillip, can he still play? Absolutely. Will they have to draft a quarterback sometime soon? Yeah, because that quarterback is going to need to stay on the bench. He's going to have to watch and learn. And if he's smart, there's no better quarterback to learn from. Phillip is one of the smartest, not quarterbacks. He's one of the smartest players I've ever been around. He knows the game inside and out. He's really a coach on the field right now. He grew up in a coach's family. His dad was a coach growing up, so he has that mentality to coach. So the time they do draft a quarterback, that's going to be a great position for him to be in.
Fair enough. All right. I like it.
Should we get to rapid fire?
Yeah, you know what? Let's get to rapid fire. Let's do that.
We like to finish our guests with some rapid fire questions.
Let's just dive right in. So, I mean, quick answers. We're going to pepper you. These are the hardest questions you've ever faced in your entire life. And you know what? The first one's maybe an easy one, but I mean, I want to know. This is always a fun thing to ask a defensive player. Hardest guy you ever had to tackle?
Adrian Peterson.
Ooh, AP.
Best QB you've ever played against?
Tom Brady.
What was it like playing with LaDainian Tomlinson? And if you know a little tidbit about him that no one else knows, by all means, toss it out there.
It was amazing. One thing about LT, the people seeing what he did in the games with a jump cut, go right off his right foot, and all these amazing moves. But he used to do that almost every other day in practice, so we wasn't impressed. I'll tell you a funny story that he had, and it's an epic picture online. We had this little thing going that if I was to get 5 sacks in one game, that he would literally run on the field and start dancing. So they got a picture of LT running on the field. I had 3 sacks. I think it was in the first or second quarter, but it was almost locked that I was going for 5. So he said, forget it. Ran on the field and started kind of dancing around in circles. They caught a picture of that. So if you ever find it, look at that. It's one of the funniest things ever.
Nice.
That's good. So would the next one is best teammate? Would he be considered your best teammate, or who was that?
It's so tough, man. We had such a close group. where all of us, we never, like, the linebackers didn't hang out with each other, the running backs didn't hang out with each other. We literally hung out with everybody. And I think that was the biggest part of us winning football games.
What was your pump-up jam? What was your go-to tune?
I would say the Lil Jon, like, Get Crunk. That when he first came out with that, and I would blast that to the stadium. I don't even know how I even heard anything after when I got out of the games because I had it like all the way up. But yeah, it was definitely something with Lil Jon in.
If you didn't play football, what would have you done?
Probably a CIA agent. I
You tough to hide.
I can't even move on. I want to hear a few bars of Lil Jon here, if you don't mind.
Listen, I didn't bring my rap on lyric bars hat this morning.
I haven't warmed up the pipes just yet.
Yeah, I haven't warmed it up just yet. I'm working on it.
Worst part about playing in Buffalo?
Actually, it was like the food. The food was great, right? But they had no healthy spots. It was like no healthy spots. It was wings and hot dogs and like
sounds a lot like Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Exactly. you couldn't find a juice bar anywhere.
Far cry from LA. The last question for me: who parties harder, soccer players or NFL players?
I don't know, man. I've been around you, and so I just changed my mentality. At first, I thought I had a beat, but now, man, soccer players.
Where does Pemberton Fest rank on your all-time party weekends?
Oh, it's up there. It's up there high. I mean, I still talk about that trip. I want to go back so I can just swim in one of those lakes right off the helicopter like we did.
Come on in. Let's do it.
Yeah,
that's easy.
I'm with it, bud.
Man, see, I remember I got photos sent to me. I was invited up that weekend, and I don't remember why I missed it, but maybe the greatest regret of my life, my friend.
It should be. It's one to remember. I got to get back up there soon. It was awesome.
Sounds good.
Nice.
Well, just want to say thanks again from both of us. Always appreciative to have someone like you on this show, and thank you for your insight and all the best with all your ventures, and hopefully more best wishes for you in the future.
Thank you.
You got it, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, brother. See you soon.
All right,
baby.